Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Athletics Fantasy Cheat Sheet brought to you by Jock Market. Jock Market is a new way to play daily fantasy sports. You can buy and sell players just like a stock exchange, complete with IPOs before the games start. Trade them during the games. Got golf live, NBA live. Go ahead, check that out. Get yourself ready for week one of the NFL season. Thanks to Jock Market for sponsoring this show. I am Michael Beller here with Jake Ciely and Brandon Funston. We're going to be coming to you every single Sunday with the Athletic Fantasy Cheat Sheet. We are excited to get things going before the season starts in the height of draft seasons. We're going to help you out with that right here. And we're going to start with everybody's favorite fantasy class of player, that being the sleeper. Jake, Brandon, I want one sleeper this season who you would stake your reputation on. Jake, take it away first.
I'm going to go, it's in the sleeper category for where he's going, but that's what we're looking for. What do we do every single year? We say undervalued is the better way to say it, but sleeper, if you really want to go deep, it's like somebody like Steve Simmons, but my one that I'm staking my reputation on is Hollywood Brown. Marquise Brown should not still be going in around the 8th round because I see top 25 upside for him. He's part of my bold predictions. He's part of the excitement for the Ravens this year, Lamar Jackson last year. Everybody's concerned like, well, is he going to have that touchdown regression? Well, is he going to throw more this year? Well, he completes 66% of his passes, and Marquise Brown, what does he do after the catch? Takes it to the house half the time. I'm not worried at all about what Lamar Jackson might do regression-wise at the quarterback position. I think that if you're looking for the upside of what Marquise Brown is, remember those two really good Deshaun Jackson seasons where he was like top 15 and everybody was like, all right, I'll deal with the 2 or 3 bad games. Everybody only remembers the Deshaun Jackson who has like 8 bad games. This is Marquise Brown where he has like 9, 10 great games, 2 or 3 medium ones, and only 2 or 3 weeks where you're really frustrated.
Yeah, I'll throw out a guy that, thankfully, you have these sleepers in mind in June, and you have to recalculate and recalibrate come August, and they're no longer sleepers either because they rose into an obvious area or they just, they didn't pan out, and you can tell it's not going to work out. But Boston Scott is a guy that I've been in on ever since, we saw him take off at the end of last season. Final month, averaging in the final 4 games, almost 90 yards per game, had 4 touchdowns over 4 games, and averaged almost 6 catches. And that's his role, the complementary piece to Miles Sanders, who is starting out right now, and as we speak, week to week with a lower body injury. So he will be the complementary piece to Miles Sanders, but he might be more than that to start the season if we don't see some positive health emerge from Miles Sanders really soon. But I just think he's a guy right now in August that you're seeing going in the mid-40s at running back, who I think can go in the mid-30s in terms of value. I see him as kind of a James White kind of piece in that Philadelphia Eagles backfield, catching a lot of balls and delivering well above ADP. Jake,
I'm smirking because
yes, you make it really hard to concentrate when you're smirking the whole time you're talking.
Because not only was he my sleeper when we did sleepers way back in June, but I'm not kidding you. I did my sleep for everybody out there. I put my sleepers in first. I legitimately left the 2 sleepers you're talking about when we get to the next one. I knew those were going to be your 2 guys, and I didn't say Boston Scott for I love Boston Scott. I'm 100% on board with you. I've had him in a ton of PPR leagues as my RB3 and even in a half-point PPR. But it's so funny. I knew you were going to pick these 2 guys. We've been doing a show for basically a month together, and I already knew these were your guys.
Well, I'll take that as a good smirk. I won't go
It was.
Is this an auto fade then of Miles Sanders? Is that what this is saying, or can you still like both of these guys?
You can absolutely like both. I think Brandon's going to say the same thing, but I think that a lot of people are going to look at the late season last year and be like, oh, well, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott got all that work because Greg Ward was their number 1. And, there's a little bit of concern of like, will it be as high volume? I mean, we're talking about 20 touches for Miles Sanders and Boston Scott getting 8 to 15 some weeks I don't think it's going to be that level, but the James White comparison is the one that I made, that Brandon just made. That's why I completely agree with him. There's enough for them to both go around. And honestly, not just the injury to Miles Sanders, the 2 injuries to their offensive line might actually force them to kick out to Boston Scott in the passing game more than they were planning to use Miles Sanders as a rusher. I still like Miles Sanders as an RB1, but I think where you were saying like, oh, is he maybe in the Derrick Henry conversation? I think you got to move Sanders back maybe just as like the fringe RB1 with like the Nick Chubbs and Joe Mixons now.
Yeah,
and Brandon Brooks about Philly is Doug Peterson. He liked to throw in Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood and Jordan Howard. You were often getting 3-4 guys in a rotation there, Darren Sproles. And now it kind of looks like it's just it's Sanders and Scott. And so that's also another feather in the cap, is just having just the two guys instead of, a whole bunch of moving parts.
All right, guys, let's move on now to rookies. We're looking for rookie star to be, and not just star to be. Star to be could be next year, the year after that. We're talking immediate star. The rookie who is going to be a star this season, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, off the table. The guy's already being selected in the first round. So we're not going to take any layup answers here. We want at least like an 18-foot jumper, maybe even take it back beyond the three-point line. A rookie who you think is going to be a star right away this season. Brandon, we're going to go to you first on this one.
Yeah, I've been kind of steadfast on Cam Akers. I see, he's not as talented as Todd Gurley coming in, but I think he can do a lot of the same things. I think that they're excited about him. They went out and used draft capital of a second-round pick. They didn't have a lot of draft picks. They had a lot of needs, and I just think that spoke to their lack of confidence in Darrell Henderson being their guy. And if you read, a lot of the coach speak and stuff, I think they're really high on Cam Akers. He is a guy who's a tackle breaker. He had to be at Florida State. They had a terrible offensive line. So the numbers he put up, considering how bad that offensive line was very impressive. He's shown skills in the passing game. He's a yards after contact guy. And he ran a 4.47. So physical, fast. Again, I think he can do a lot of the things that Todd Gurley did. I don't think they're going to lean on him like they did. I do believe Henderson will be part of that equation. But you listen, the Athletics beat reporter, the Rams beat reporter, Jordan Rodriguez, feels the same way. This is going to be Cam Akers' backfield by the second half of the season. I think it's going to happen quicker than that. He's the rookie running back. I think he's going to end up with the most touches.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm with that. Again, watch Florida State. It was a miserable offensive line. Still look great back there. You put him where Dobbins was, or go to the SEC, throwing him half the SEC teams, and people would be talking about Cam Akers should have been a first rounder like that. That's really what it comes down to. So I'm not going to disagree there. Obviously, I knew where you were going, Brandon. So I'm going to go with my guy, which everybody probably assumes they know where I'm going at this point because I can't talk about him enough. It's Henry Ruggs. Yeah. Since before the draft, I was saying don't pigeonhole him as only a deep guy. After the draft, I said he's already the number one option for the Raiders. We see Tyrell Williams is already going to try to play through a torn shoulder. So Henry Ruggs is the guy. Bryan Edwards could definitely be a thing as well, but Henry Ruggs can run the routes. Henry Ruggs can make the deep play. He can go over the middle. He can do after the catch. I love what he can bring. Everybody wants Jalen Reagor, and rightfully so, as the best wide receiver for rookies this year. I still say Henry Ruggs, and if it's Reagor, it's going to be close.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on Ruggs here. I think that he has a real shot to be his team's number one receiver, probably the best shot of any rookie receiver to be his team's number one receiver, maybe even number one pass catcher. We know Darren Waller is going to play a huge role in that offense, but Henry Ruggs, I think, better than Jalen Reagor, better than Jerry Jeudy, has the real chance to be his team's number one receiver and potentially number one pass catcher as well. One more thing here. We're not calling this a bold prediction. We are saying this is a crazy prediction. It's a wild prediction, but it might actually happen. I'm looking at what you guys got here. I like these. I like both of these. Jake, let's hear what yours is.
Yeah, this is straight out of my 32 bold predictions column. I almost went with the Dwayne Haskins one, but he's the title. So if everyone wants to read the column, go read it. So check the link. There you go. First one of the year.
There it is.
I will say, and so this goes to something that Emery Hunt talked about on a recent podcast, the Fantasy Football podcast. And I'm going to say, Teddy, this is the bold one. It's really out there, but it can happen. And here's how. Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater is a top 10 quarterback. And here's why. Joe Brady, where is he now? He's with the Panthers. What did Joe Brady just do for Joe Burrow? He made him into a record-breaking, world-setting quarterback in the college game. And what Emery said, it's very astute. Obviously, Emery's the best scout in the game. I call it a point-and-click offense. He called it a little bit different, but it's just let the quarterback sit, pick his spots, and just go, and just find a spot and just go. And if you give him DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield, Ian Thomas, there's a path if he has 600 attempts where Teddy Bridgewater is inside the top 10 quarterbacks.
I will throw out another guy that I know Emery likes, and that's Chase Edmonds from Fordham. Emery likes to dig deep for these guys from small colleges. I know he liked Chase Edmonds, and Chase Edmonds in a fleeting moment, a fleeting glimpse last year, had 3 weeks in a row where if he didn't get hurt, we might not have seen the whole Kenyon Drake story emerge the way it did as one of the top fantasy running backs in the second half. You remember, the big game that Chase Edmonds had, I believe it was against the Giants. He went for over 120 yards, had 3 touchdowns. This is a guy in limited duty, averaged over 5 yards a carry. had 5 touchdowns, almost 9 yards a catch. And last week, Cliff Kingsbury comes out and says Chase Edmonds, it feels like a starting running back in the NFL. And we have Kenyon Drake in a walking boot because of quote unquote nicks and bruises, which seems dubious to me. I don't think it's just simply nicks and bruises that precipitated a walking boot. I think there's probably something more there. So I'm going to say that my bold prediction is that Chase Edmonds outdoes Kenyon Drake in fantasy in 2020. My rankings don't represent that in any way, shape, or form.
Change the ranks.
But if we come to the end of December and that's the way it is, I am not going to be shocked.
Yeah, we're gonna save this clip right here for sure.
I feel like that would have been a lot more bold 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
The best part about that Chase Edmonds game against the Giants last year was when Bruce Arians earned or Cliff Kingsbury, excuse me, getting my Cardinals timelines mixed up. Cliff Kingsbury earned the enmity of every single fantasy owner out there because David Johnson was active that game, if you remember, but then didn't play at all. It was Chase Edmonds who came in and had the big game against the Giants. There you go. We're staking our reputation on Hollywood Brown and Boston Scott, buying into Henry Ruggs and Cam Akers and making bold predictions on Teddy Bridgewater and Chase Edmonds over Kenyon Drake. This is the Athletic Fantasy Cheat Sheet brought to you by Jock Market. You can get 30% off a subscription to The Athletic if you go to theathletic.com/draftkit. ADP's on the rise is where we're going.